you are going to be my shield. If you're lying to me and you're setting us up for an ambush, you're going to die. Because if they don't kill you by being in front of me, I'll shoot you in the back of your head, I told them. So let's go. They were shot up really, really bad. I remember that when we were driving, all I heard was the windshield of the car, because we were up front, blown off. I opened the door and I threw myself out of the car. And the car was being riddled by machine gun fire that I was in. And then one of my other agents crawled right next to me. And he says, "Boss, we're going to die here." And I said, "You might die here." He says, "But I'm not. I'm not going to die here." So I yell at Jim. I said, "He's going to take you to the hospital. I'm going back to the shootout." He says, "You're crazy. You can't go back over there." I said, "I got my men over there, Jim. I can't let them be all shut up to death."
Right.
He said, "But they're going to kill you back there, Hector." And I said, "Well, if I die, I'm going to die with them." What really, I guess, emotionally grabs me is to be talking to somebody undercover, meeting them undercover, and killing him, and then seeing him dead. We were just partying, and he says, "I got this beautiful woman for you, dude." So this girl shows up, and she's a prostitute. And I'm thinking, "Oh my God, what am I gonna do?" And I'm wired. So I said, "Hey, listen," I said, "here's $300. I said, I can't have sex with you." And she goes, "Why?" I said, "I'm gonna tell you, but you better promise me you're not gonna tell anybody." She goes, "I promise you." I said, "I have syphilis." I said, "Would you please don't tell anybody?" He says, No, I won't, I promise you."
Well, it's the land of the free and home of the brave. Stairs in the houses that community. Well, leave them alone and what they're gonna say. With the clean back, black and markets here to stay. Like a new gold, fighting blue.
My next guest earned the U.S. Attorney's Award for Heroism, the Federal Bar Association's Medal of Valor. He spent years infiltrating undercover the Mexican cartels. He was involved in a number of shootouts that involved killing of many people, many of whom he still held accountable. He was assigned to investigate the murder of DEA agent Kiki Camarena, and during that investigation discovered the CIA's involvement in his killing, as well as the CIA's involvement in the distribution of cocaine within the United States in order to fund an illegal war in Nicaragua in the 80s. This man is an extraordinary man who's also written a book called The Last Narc, a documentary with the same name, which is well worth watching. But this is a man who has a family, who has a conscience, who lives with anxiety, regret, doubt, just like we all would. Only he's had these extraordinary experiences that we can only dream to relate to. That's what I hope to highlight in this episode, and I know it's going to be fascinating. It was such an amazing experience sitting down with this guy. So without further ado, please help me in welcoming my good friend, Mr. Hector Berrellez.
So, Tegan, going back to your business, do you have any big security? Executive protection type of accounts?
Yeah, we mostly do private wealth because I don't like drama. There's plenty of drama just with private wealth anyway. But, we don't do like rock stars and things like that.
What's
movies.
private wealth?
Private wealth would be like, billionaire types that aren't necessarily high profile. They're not an actor or a rapper or something,
Right.
But they're big business people that are constantly traveling and, somebody that I always say, hey, if they wanted you or me, they don't want you or me, that might be a 0.01% chance that they would want you or me. But, for somebody that's got the money, they may want their family or somebody there so they
kidnap him or whatever for ransom and stuff. Especially here. We're close to Mexico.
Yeah. And closer than people think. That's one question I will definitely want to ask, and I'll probably forget. So if you remember, is all these people still travel there like it's nothing. And I always find it interesting seeing the people who have been in and out of the doldrums there to see exactly what happens. Right. And compare that with the ignorance of the public who, well, I've been down there 5 times and never seen anything weird. And I'm like, that's fine. I know you shouldn't be paranoid and never go, but you also shouldn't be ignorant to the fact that, you're probably a mile away from a murder and you don't even know it.
Right.
You know? What is your sentiment if you had a family member say, hey, I want to go to...
No, I do all the time. Friends tell me all the time, and I tell them, well, a lot of people go. They're risking their lives. Most of the time, nothing happens to them because these big hotels where they stay at belong to the cartel guys. So the security that you get at those hotels are cartel guys doing security for you guys. But they don't understand that.
Yeah.
They say, what? I said, yeah. Who do you think owns the big hotels and the
Right.
resorts over there?
Right.
It's a billionaire cartel guys. They own all that stuff.
That's crazy.
And the cops work for them.
Right.
So, yeah, nothing happens. But if you happen to be at the wrong hotel, like it happened in Acapulco where there was like 70 some hotel gets taken out and executed just to ruin the other cartel guys' business.
Yeah.
That happened in Acapulco.
Ah,
They took out about 70 something with Japanese Americans. They were just tourists. They took him out and executed them all.
how long ago was that?
That was about 15 years ago.
15?
15 years
That's
ago.
not very long ago.
Nope. I was already retired.
And I
when
know
it
there's
happened.
other Cancun had some stuff happening there too, not
Right.
more 8-10 years ago. And yeah,
Well,
the places are-
the owner of that hotel, I forget what it was, a Sheraton or whatever it was. I think it was a Guillermo Hardo. He was a big cartel guy, former DFS guy. He owned it, and the Sinaloa cartel, who were enemies of his cartel, they went out and just got all their guests, took him out, and executed them all to ruin his tourist business.
Good Lord, man.
I mean,
God,
people are nuts.
playing hardball. I know.
Yeah.
And then, so you would not send your family down there.
Exactly.
Well, your family specifically probably has more to lose, but even a friend that would call and say, hey, man, it seems like a simple enough trip and I'll stay on the resort and everything else. And you would just say, yeah, probably be safe as long as you're friendly to the cartels because they're the ones that are protecting you.
My girlfriend, she's not Hispanic, by the way. She's totally blonde, blue-eyed girl, but she always wants to go to Mexico. And I said, look, and she's with the FBI.
Yeah. I
said, number one, you're going to have to advise your agency, and they're probably not going to let you go. They're going to say, don't go. Number one. Number two, I said, you don't want to go with me because we'll probably end up in a shootout or get killed or whatever. Or cause a major incident. If you want, because she wants to speak Spanish, she's learning Spanish, and she wants to practice all the time.
Yeah.
I said, you can practice here with all the damn illegals we got here. I said, you don't need to go to Mexico. We have Mexico here already. So I tell her, I said, if you want to go somewhere, let's go to Argentina. Let's go to some South American country, beautiful country. I said, we don't need to go to Mexico,
Different dialect though, too, right?
Yeah, different dialect, yeah. Yeah, but I said, we don't have to go to Mexico for you to, practice your Spanish. Because she's very proud of the fact she speaks very good Spanish. I mean, for a gringa,
yeah, that's awesome.
She's from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Speaks beautiful Spanish, but she never says, "I never get to practice it." And we need to travel somewhere. And I said, but here's the thing with me is that I'm out all over. I said, people know me, Central South America, Argentina. I wouldn't be comfortable even going to Argentina, even though I've been to Argentina when I was with DEA.
Yeah,
and I love Argentina. I love the gaucho stuff. I love the love of horses and how they ride their horses without saddles.
Beautiful place. Yeah,
it's beautiful, and they have the boleros and all that stuff.
And Pablo's son is out there. Actually, it's where he stays too, in Argentina. I can't remember which city though.
Who?
Pablo Escobar's son.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah,
yeah, he's out there too.
You interviewed him, right? Did you interview him?
Yeah, what a fantastic guy to try to make amends and meeting with all the families that were affected by his dad's atrocities and just trying to, and also meeting with William Rodriguez, who was, part of the Cali cartel. So they're together. We were trying to make a documentary and that's how I got dragged into that whole project in the first place where I got to meet him, is that we were trying to work a way to where the Border Patrol would allow those two to embrace at the end, and actually they're friends, but William can't leave his jurisdiction. He's on his parole and Pablo Jr. or Sebastian, in this case, it goes by Sebastian Marroquin, can't come into the U.S. So we were trying to finagle some way for those two because of the symbolism of bringing those two together in the name of peace and, defying all the past of the stuff that they were involved with. I thought was pretty remarkable.
Right.
It's rare. I mean, you grow up in the game like that. It's hard to see, that level of success and then see it for what it is without any coaching. I mean, They basically stripped him of all his stuff and excommunicated him. But that was it. I mean, he just basically started with no money, but he had no incentive to not be a gangster other than just seeing it for what it is. I was just fascinated by it.
You know, one of the things that bothers me is these Mexican guys like Mayo Zambada, who was head of the Sinaloa cartels over here now. I know he's cooperating, even though they say he's not, but I know he is. He's given up 7 prior presidents in Mexico. And that's 42 years that he basically bribed presidents straight. Every president that was coming in, he would bribe, to include this one.
Yeah.
Okay. And yet he's over here. They won't give him the death penalty. I mean, the death penalty. So they're giving him life. So I'm saying to myself, these people killed thousands of people. Forget the people that they dismembered, they beheaded and castrated, and all that stuff. Forget that. Just thousands of people that they killed by overdosing them with fentanyl and all these drugs. And they're like over here, like, oh, okay, well, I'll just do life over here, and I understand he's very happy here because they were able to cure his diabetes. I guess he had uncontrollable diabetes in Mexico. The doctors weren't doing much.
Yeah.
And nothing happens to these guys. Everybody comes over here, makes a deal, and I mean, when I was with DEA, if you were a Class 1 violator, we could not make a deal with you, meaning you had to you were going to pay the price. In other words, you could not deal with me.
You just hand it over to the judge and let him do it.
But now everybody works a deal. Okay, I'll work a deal with you. Don't give me the death penalty, and I'll give you this, and I'll give you that. Which is, in a way, is good because they're giving up high-powered people presidents. But the corruption has always been there, Tegan. And I mean, they just indicted a former president out of Honduras. And I remember when we kidnapped Mate Ballesteros out of Honduras. The government and the people were so pissed off that we kidnapped him because they wouldn't turn him over because he was paying off all the officials that were in Honduras.
Right.
They burned down our goddamn embassy. I mean, I'm talking 20, 30 years ago. People forget all this shit.
Yeah.
You know?
So is it, you look in the United States, it kind of works the same way, but a lot of it is affluence and influence. So I think a lot of it is the fact that he's turning over big names to give them better cases. We've kind of seen that happen, especially federally, right?
Right.
And then also they've got the money to bring on the best lawyers and everything else. Do you see that parallel here? Do you think it's kind of the same in terms of just those guys coming up with the greatest defense as opposed to, some kid that just got caught up with, an ounce of coke or something that, has to get a public defender?
Well, yeah, that's part of it, that they have the money to, of course, pay for big attorneys, but a lot of it, these attorneys are connected. A lot of deal making, a lot of like, okay, well, my guy will give you this and you give you that. If you in turn, let him plead to this crime and that crime, which is minor sentencing, and everything is a plea bargained out now, as when in the older days. No, you can't. We don't want to make a deal with the guy. I don't care what he offers. He's going to prison. Yeah. He's going to pay for what he's done.
Is it maybe the overcrowding then of the prisons? I mean, I'm just wondering why it's gone in that direction. I'm in my era, I'm only familiar with people trying to make deals, and it was usually predicated on, hey, if we got you on a conspiracy case and you're looking at 25 years or something, then obviously we don't want you to tell me where I can find kilos. We want you to tell me where I can find bodies. And then you have some kind of significant clout for your downward departure in the federal system or whatever. That's always been sort of how it goes. Yeah. Do you think now they're a little more forgiving just because of the overcrowding?
Well, look at the crime in general is very forgiving now. And now people are arrested for rape, for murder, or whatever, and they're out. Look at the girls the 2 girls that were just killed. I forget their names. The Ukrainian girl that was killed by the subject I think it was North Carolina on the subway. Yeah. The guy had been in and out of prison. they don't take it serious enough.
Yeah.
And now there was another girl just killed. I forget her name. Has been in the news yesterday, day before yesterday. Her father was screaming mad that the suspect also there had a 10-mile long criminal career. I mean, in and out of prisons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The no cash bail has basically caused that. So a lot of things are not taken. A lot of crime is not taken seriously enough, I don't think. There are people that are not, you cannot rehabilitate them. They're just bad, evil criminals.
Yep.
And most of them, honestly, are mentally insane people. And they let them out on the streets. They're going to reoffend and they're going to kill somebody.
And it's that cycle too. It's a lot of those same, however, percentage of the criminal pop that there is, where they just will absolutely do this again and again and again. And if you
Absolutely.
just keep those fools in there,
Right.
there are obviously criminals that are rehabilitatable.
You don't see what you saw in the past. A judge would say, okay, this guy can't be rehabilitated. He's already raped 3 little girls. It's a matter of time till they kill somebody. And why don't we just castrate him? Will you be agreed to be castrated? Will that stop you maybe? And people said, yeah, go ahead and castrate me. I mean, I don't think I can control myself. So they looked at other ways. Now is everybody out? There's no punishment.
Yeah.
There's no accountability. Anyway, are we started yet, or are we?
Yeah. Oh, we're rolling.
Oh,
this
well,
is all good stuff.
I thought we were going to start formally. Well, you were going to start with my past or whatever. What do you want to start with?
Yeah. Because you're a world famous narc and have accomplished so much and have a lot of things to talk about, and I'm looking forward to all this. But as a beginning, you didn't start off necessarily on a law enforcement trajectory. You're not the kid that was always wearing the police hats and running around the house. You had your father was a laborer, bricklayer, and your mother was a fortune teller, and you've had interesting dynamic, and ended up going off to school. So tell me a little bit about what are some of the lessons that you took from your childhood that you've taken forward.
I had a very happy childhood. My father was a laborer. We didn't have any guns in our house. My dad never took us hunting. I didn't see a weapon till I went into the U.S. Army. I went to high school, and all my education was in Arizona. While in high school, I learned how to play the guitar, and I started with a mariachi group, and later as the Beatles became famous, and I started playing Beatle music, and we developed had a very, very good band. We used to play the high school dances and stuff like that. Went into high school, and later when I got to the University of Arizona, we still had the band, and we used to play at different functions there at the university. Where there was a place where all the students hung out. It was called the Dungeon, and we used to play at the Dungeon, and everybody hung out there. As a matter of fact, I met some very interesting people while at the University of Arizona. I met Geraldo Rivera. He was a student when I was a student there. I also met Linda Cordova, later became Wonder Woman, Linda Carter. As a matter of fact, she was singing with a group.
She was a
They
singer.
were called the Relatives. She was a singer.
All right.
And I met her there, and she was beautiful, of course. Back then, I thought she was prettier than she was when she was Wonder Woman. So it was interesting because I remember her because she was a girlfriend of Hector Rodriguez, a friend of mine who had a trio. They weren't like a rock and roll group. They were like a trio. And she would sing in that trio. And one time when we were playing at the Dungeon, she came up to me and she says, "Can I sing a song with you guys?" I said, "Sure, come on up."
Playing
We'll go up on
covers and
stage,
stuff?
Yeah. This is Linda Carter, and of course back then she was Linda Cordova. So she come up and she said, "What do you want to sing?" She said, "Well, I like to sing La Bamba," and I said, "Fine, so let's get down and do it." She did a fantastic job. And what my singer, Art Meyer, who was a great performer. I mean, he did all the James Brown stuff, the dancing, the splits, and all that stuff. I mean, he was like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
that girl is beautiful." And I said, "I'm gonna get her number." I said, "No, don't bother." And he says, "Why?" I said, "You see that guy sitting there?" And I pointed to Hector Rodriguez, and he goes, "What about him?" That's her boyfriend, and he's a tough guy.
Yeah.
I said, "Stay away from her." I'll
Wise
never forget
words at
that.
an
But yeah,
early age.
that's how I met her. And then later, when there was a big battle of the bands, and it was at Randolph Field, which is a park there in Tucson, Arizona, I thought we were going to win because we were pretty good back then. And of course, we had Art Myers, my singer, who I just mentioned, and he was a great performer. And we did a lot of Beatles stuff, James Brown stuff, and all that stuff. And I thought we were going to win, but there was a group there, and I forget what the name of the group was, but their lead singer was Linda Ronstadt. She was
Aye.
unknown back then. All right.
This tumbling
This is
dice.
before yeah. And so she went to school. So it was an interesting time while I was growing up, playing in the band and being a student at the university at the time when all these people were there, but they were unknown. They were not famous back then. They were just like Fidel Rivera. I mean, he was just a guy who used to hang
But it's
out there.
cooler that way. I mean, it's a little more authentic. You feel like, you're kind of around people just trying to do their thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was my background in education.
You still play at all?
I don't play anymore. I just sing at the house sometimes, or whenever I want to sing Happy Birthday, I get the guitar and play it. But what happened was I left it because of this, because at that at that time the Vietnam War was really raging, and we were all losing our 2S deferments, 2 semester deferments. When you were at the U of A, they canceled them, and you became eligible to be drafted during the summer. So during one of the summers, I got my draft notice to report for supposedly a physical. I went to the physical, I passed it, and I was basically, sworn into the U.S. Army.
So,
they made us make a phone call. Hey, we're not coming home. We've been drafted.
wow.
But it was what I remember, and it stays with me, is when they swore me in. I said, "Well, you can either be sworn in, or before they swore me in, and you're going to be in the Army or the Marine Corps, wherever you choose. But you couldn't choose to be in the Navy or Air Force. You were being drafted. You were going to go into the Marines or the Army. And but if you don't, then we're going to go ahead and put you on a bus, and you're going to be put in jail."
Yeah.
So I'm standing there like shocked. And then this guy whispers to me, he says, "If you say you're gay, they won't take you." And I said, "Really?" He says, "Yeah." And I thought about it, and I thought maybe I'll just say I'm gay, and then when I won't have to go, because I was playing in the band, I was having a great time.
Yeah.
And I thought, no, I'm gonna have to actually officially register myself as a gay person. No, I think I'd rather take my chances of getting killed in Vietnam.
Wow.
So I decided, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna basically officially declare myself gay.
That's got to be, for somebody who, I guess, came up kind of as a creative a little bit. I mean, you're a musician and everything else. It's not what you were studying in school, but I mean, I don't think it's can be understated how intense that is. And people these days tend to forget that we had a draft, and men over 18 were just, you're coming. And how did that make you feel? I can't even imagine, being in one place, having no idea that that's even on the table. And then
it was very shocking to be called in. I mean, all of a sudden you're having a great time. You're a student at the university. You're enjoying your life. You're full of hope, and you're going to be. I was going to go to law school and become an attorney, and full of, I guess, hope and aspirations. And all of a sudden, it's gone.
Yeah.
What? I'm going into the Army, into war?
Right.
Yes, it became very real. Going back to your question as to why I didn't continue my musical career, was because Art Meyer, our main singer that I mentioned earlier, the guy that could do all the James Brown stuff, he was also drafted, And so was another band member by the name of Manny Casnay. Guess what? They were in Vietnam a month. They got killed.
In the first month.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Um,
Were you aware of when they were killed at
yes,
the time?
because
or did you find
I
out later?
escorted them home. Because back then, when you were drafted, you were asked if you get killed, and a lot of you, and they were honest. A lot of you guys are not coming back. You're gonna get killed. So, who do you want to escort? You have another buddy in the army or whatever. And I put Art Myers and Manny Casnay as possible escorts for me should I get killed over there.
Mhm.
And they put me that I should be their escort should they get killed. And they both got killed over there.
What did it do for your psyche? I mean, you're saying you've never even seen or handled a gun at all until that point at all. So how did it affect you going in as rookie as a rookie could be into the military, getting crash course training, going straight into wartime, and then within a month finding out that your two friends had perished? What did that do to your ability to fight effectively or stay in the game?
Well, quite honestly, I felt like I had to stay in the game. I mean, what am I going to do now? Here I am. Thank God I was assigned to a medical evacuation unit where I wasn't assigned to a. Initially, I had been assigned to an infantry unit as a 21B B-20 combat medic. I was trained by the Army as a field combat medic. 91 B-20 was my it's called my MOS whatever job that I was supposed to have while I was in the Army. And before I got to Vietnam, they changed my orders to become a medical evac medic, which in other words a medically evac people that had been shot seriously in Vietnam. So we were bringing them out, and a lot of the wounded guys were being operated right on the plane. So what did it do to my psychic? It just killed me. And after that, here's two of my band guys were killed over there. My main singer was killed over there. And at that point, I decided I can't continue my career. I stopped becoming a musician, a professional musician. Yeah, I played at home and I still play the guitar and stuff like that. That's why I asked you when I saw that guitar here in the studio, who plays it? I was kind of interested.
Oh.
But I love music, and it changed my whole life, Tegan. I mean, after I got out of the service, obviously I went back to school because I had the GI Bill, but all my desires and my dreams
Changed.
were basically eroded. I lost the desire anymore to be an attorney. I lost the desire. I didn't really aspire to be anything, and but I decided that because I had the GI Bill, I might as well get my degree.
You're close by then,
Right.
right?
And I remember that when I first came out of the Army, coming back, I was wearing my uniform. And I'll never forget this. It was really, 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 I was shocked. When I got off the plane in San Francisco, I had all my medals and my uniform, and people started spitting on me and calling me a baby killer and everything else. And I'm like, what? So I remember going into, I had my duffel bag and I had clothes in there, civilian clothes. I remember going into the men's room and changing, taking my uniform off and changing to civilian clothes. I almost shocked my mom to death because she didn't know I was coming, and I was supposedly was going to show up home after leaving, Vietnam in my uniform.
Yeah.
And I ended up showing up home in regular street
It's
clothes.
supposed to be a pride point, a pride of point, point of pride where you serve your country.
You felt no pride out of having served. It was that bad.
Yeah.
You think about things being bad now and people being anti-establishment, anti-government, anti-country. And I feel that kind of way again now with what we see happening currently with the people that are
extremists,
basically anti-law enforcement.
Yeah.
They don't respect military guys that go out there, and a lot of them get killed. A lot of them come back with arms and legs. I don't see that empathy. I don't see anybody feeling sorry for them. We're going back to that real insensitive, non-loving, uh, situation of our country. I see all the corruption, and it really now I'm bothered by it because I always thought that our country was, why does it even snow? I believed as a young man that we were always the good guys, and Mexico and all the other countries were below us, and they were corrupt and everything else. But we were the good guys and the clean guys, and now come to find out that, and I saw a lot of corruption in our own government. So
Yeah.
I made a 180, starting from a young boy, going to church every Sunday, being an altar boy, and not ever seeing a gun until I went into the army. And then after that, my life was all about guns and shooting people and stuff like that, doing, uh, dark operations and traveling undercover to a lot of countries. It changed me, Tegan. I mean, I was a guy that I didn't want even going to get in a fist fight. I mean, I was bullied and everything else. I wasn't a tough guy in high school, uh, but even though I became very tough.
Yeah. Out of almost a defense mechanism, you think? Just basically, you've got to go to war. You better figure out how to be aggressive and become tough and put on that shell, or concede to it and succumb to it and get too emotional to survive, right?
Exactly. So I had to become that tough guy. I had to become a guy that had to be proficient with weapons. I've had to be the kind of guy that I had to kill people, and I've killed more than one person. I suffer from PTSD. I'm being treated by it by the VA. So I still have a lot of nightmares. I guess it's kind of hard to grow up in church, believing in God, wanting never to hurt anybody, believing in the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not kill. And all of a sudden, here you are, a made killer, a made tough guy, going undercover into these guys. And people would ask me, weren't you afraid that these guys were going to kill you? And quite frankly, I wasn't that afraid because I had a gun, they had a gun, and I figured try to kill me. I'm a pretty good shot, and I'm pretty fast with my gun. I think I got the upper hand on him or her that tries to hurt me. So yeah, I was afraid. I'm not going to tell you that I wasn't afraid. I was always afraid. As a matter of fact, let me tell you something about being afraid. There was a couple of agents that I knew that were killed in L.A. Back, well, 20, 30 years ago, I guess. Paul Sima and John Montoya. They were killed in an undercover operation. And they were going to go meet some people. They were supposedly going to sell them some heroin. And right before they went out on the undercover operation, I was in the laboratory there, the bathroom at the LA division, doing my thing. And Paul Sima pulled up to the urinal next to me, and he said, "Hector," he says, "we're going to go undercover right now. I'm really scared, man." He says, these guys look like a pretty bad guys, and I'm really scared. How do you scan? You've done a lot of undercover work, and you're known to be one of the best undercover guys. Give me some advice. I'm really scared. And I said, look, undercover work, you're always going to be scared. The day you're not scared, you're going to get killed. Because that fear, Paul, is just going to keep you alive. 2 hours after that, he was dead. I killed him. I never forget that. And I remember telling him that. But yeah, I was in fear most of the time.
But you have to, working undercover, don't let me be presumptuous here about you, but you have to be keenly aware, and that fear has to turn you sharp, but you have to suppress it, right? Because street smart people smell fear from forever away. They can make a phone call and they can tell that you're in fear, and that could be also deadly, right? Or no?
Yes, you have to control it. And I told Paul that you have to control it where you don't shake or tremble. I said, just control yourself. Try to stay calm. I said, try to come, but be fearful. But you're right. You can't show it. You have to show a lot of confidence. And I trained other people in undercover work. As a matter of fact, it's kind of funny. It reminds me of training this one FBI undercover agent from the FBI. And the FBI wanted me to train him in drug undercover work. And so I had him with me. He spoke Spanish. And we were going to meet these drug lords at this real bad East Los Angeles bar. And so, of course, we have our guns and everything else, and we have an informant, and we're going to meet the owner of the nightclub at his nightclub. It was a sleaze bag. It was a narco bar. And as we're coming in, of course, you have two bouncers.
Yeah.
And I had told the undercover agent, you just keep your mouth shut, you watch and do what I do. I'm going to introduce you as my bodyguard to this bad guys. But you do what I do. He said, okay, Hector, I got you. It's okay. You just sit there and learn, and if I ask you to do something, you do it. I'm going to ask you, whenever they show us drugs, to go out to the car, supposedly, to get the money or whatever. You give the bus signal and do the by bus. Okay, no problem. He was so scared. So anyway, as we approach the door, we have the two bouncers there, and they grabbed me, and they started to touch me, and I said, hey, get your damn hands off of me. He says, what do you want? Well, we're looking for a gun. And I says, I have a gun. Showed him my gun. Now, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Get your hands off of me before I blow your hands off of you. I says, don't touch me. He says, yeah, I got my gun. Now, what are you going to do? And he says, I'm here to meet the owner. And he's got a gun too. And I told him, show him your gun. So he shows him his gun. He says, you're not going to touch us. You touch me again, and I swear to God, I'm going to blow your hand off, okay? So don't touch me again. I'm here to see so-and-so. So the bartender says, let him in. So they sit us at this table. And, of course, the bad guy's not there yet. We'll wait for him to show up, the owner of the bar. And he shows up. And this undercover guy's watching everything I do. He's learning. So the trafficker shows up and he says, you guys, I understand. Well, we had a strong informant. This guy's got the money. They want to buy 300 keys. Blah, blah, blah. You've done it, Tegan. No problem. So the guy grabs a bag out of his coat pocket and he throws it at me. And it bounces off my chest and it's got a white powder in it. And I said, what is this? He says, this is a sample of my coke. I said, okay. Okay, good. He says, look at it. Look at the crystal. Pura escamilla, he says, look at the crystal. Right in my pocket, I got $1 bill and I threw it at him. And it bounces off his chest. He looks at me and says, what's this? Sample of my money.
Touche.
He's just watching me do this and he goes, so the guy goes, he laughs. He says, I says, just because you got this little ounce of a coke here doesn't mean you have the 300 keys.
Right.
Like just because I just gave you $1 doesn't mean I have whatever, $500,000 or whatever we were supposed to have to buy it. But anyway, years later, after I'm retired and I'm at a party and the same FBI guy that I trained, says, I'll never forget Hector. He says, man, I was so scared the first time I went undercover like that. And first of all, he says, show him your gun. And if he tries to take your gun, blow his hand off. He says, I couldn't believe it. He says, then we go in there and the guy comes in trying to impress us by throwing an ounce of coke. And Hector reaches his pocket and throws $1 back. And he says, what are we doing here? You know, what does this mean? Yeah. But he said, man, I learned so much. Just that one time. I mean, it was the first time. And what I learned, he said, is you have to really think fast on your feet. You have to be ready for anything when you're undercover.
And you're being the character too. I mean, you can't be the respectful you and have a normal conversation with somebody that's in the dark world like that. And if you're supposed to be a somebody, you're obviously one-upping them as if you're the guy that they're expecting to see. I mean, if you didn't act like that, they would almost be suspicious, right?
Exactly. A lot of times, you've been undercover. I was asked, are you carrying a gun? And I said, yeah, I'm carrying a gun. I hope you got one too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I got a gun. Well, I got a gun too.
If they didn't have a gun, you'd say,
Exactly.
"You
Now,
sure
in my
you're in this
world,
business?"
everybody carries guns. I mean, it was understood that you had to have your piece.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would make fun of me because of course, I back then I used to carry a 1911 45,
Okay.
the old types, and I went and had I even got pearl grips and dolled it up a little bit.
That's fancy.
Yeah, and of course I would never ever carry a holster. I mean, it was always in my back, in around the back of my waist, around the back. It was in the back, but reachable.
Okay.
And the other people that didn't work undercover would say, what's with that pimp gun you got, Hector?" And they called it a pimp gun because it had pearl grips. I said, I did it on purpose. I said, "No, where'd you get the pimp gun?" I said, I had it, put had those grips put on it because I don't want it to look like a cop gun. That's why. But it looked like a pimp gun because the pearl grips.
Love it.
But you did what you had to do. You dressed the way they dressed. You talked the way they talked. You appeared like they appear. I mean, you look at them straight in the face. You don't show. You never look down. If they stare you down, you stare back at them, and you go, "What's up? What do you want?"
Mm-hmm.
But it was all in training, and I got as the time went by, I got better and better and better at working undercover. When I realized how good I was, and I don't want to sound like I'm bragging.
You got to
But
explain why you're the king of narcs. I mean, people want to know. So it's
right.
not
So
bragging.
when I realized how good I was is when I had this informant, this beautiful girl come in. Actually, as a matter of fact, a male informant brought in this woman who was beautiful, and she told me that she was leaving her husband, who was a comandante of the Federal District Police in Mexico City. She spoke English. She wasn't from Mexico, but she had been married to this comandante, and that he had left her for some French model or whatever. And she was very hurt with him and wanted to get back and wanted me to arrest him. And I said, well, it's going to be kind of hard for me to arrest him. I said, because, he's a commandant in Mexico City. He's a higher up government official. I said, I'm not going to say we're not going to try. I said, but tell me who he works with. And he says, well, he's working with a corrupt captain of the Webb County Sheriff's Department in Texas, in Laredo, Texas. I said, what? He says, yeah. He says, his name is Lou Munoz, and Lou is a captain with the Webb County Narcotics Sheriffs. And Lou is the one that meets him in Mexico, across the line in Mexico.
Wow.
And he brings the heroin in his patrol car.
Wow.
I said, and nobody inspects him? He says, no. They're all friends. They're all the inspectors. They're all friends with him. So that's why my husband uses him to bring in the heroin. And he also sells the heroin for my husband. This girl, let's go to my office right now. I didn't believe her. Go to my office. He said, what for? He said, you got a number for this guy, Lou, at the sheriff's department? She goes, yeah. He said, we're going to call him right now. I want you to prove to me. I can't believe that this guy's a captain in charge of a drug unit and he's corrupt. He said, okay, let's go. I said, wow. So we go to the undercover room. We had the undercover phones there. She calls the number and they answer, Webb County Sheriff's Department. And she says, I would like to talk to Captain Lou Munoz, please. Just a minute. But 30 minutes, seconds later, the male voice comes on. And she says, this is Captain Munoz. And this is Mary, Lou. He said, yeah, what's up, Mary? He said, he left me. He left me for that French whatever, whore or whatever. And I'm very upset. And I'm over here with my girls, my daughters, and I don't have any money. I need to make some money. He hasn't given me a cent. He says, Mary, I can't give you a job over here. I'm not asking you for that kind of job. You know what I'm talking about. He says, I don't want to talk about that stuff on the phone. He says, I got a guy that needs, that we can work with. And he goes, okay, let's not talk on the phone, but, you're interested. And he goes, well, like I said, I don't want to talk on the phone. I'm not going to say no, but bring the guy over here. I
Interesting.
said, wow. I said, she says, okay, I'm gonna tell you when we're flying in and everything else. And so we set up an undercover operation. And so he's supposed to meet us at the airport, flying in from Arizona, in San Antonio, Texas, to drive us down to Laredo, where he's in charge of the drug unit there at Webb County. So we end up over there, myself, the male